Welcome to another week of Final Fantasy XIII. I'm Dice, and joined again by...
I'm Izawa.
And so we're in Chapter 12, but let's just say it's pretty much not Chapter 12.
There's like a cutscene separating chapter 12 and 13 right now.
We have a very small room.
Yeah, so all of this chapter text is not very useful because we basically just defeated the Proudclad again.
Yeah, he redeemed himself in his final moments, realizing that he kind of done goofed.
Yeah, it's okay, guys. I was an asshole the whole game, but with my dying breath, I'll tell everyone to stand down. But not really. I'll tell them they can stand down if they want to.
But it's not an order.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just heading into Eden Hall, the seat of the government, but the Fal'cie government.
Secret Fal'cie government.
But yeah, welcome to Chapter 13. Actually, I think we do walk forward a little bit. There might be another cutscene before it officially transitions. I just remember it being... very opulent.
They spared no expense.
Where's the cavalry?
If they made it this far, we'll see them soon enough.
Oh no.
Is that them?
It's them. They were sacrificed.
Not them too. They were all Seath.
Oh yeah, so all of this makes sense.
This is where we walked into.
This is it. A lot of dreams died to get us here. And we can't let it be for nothing.
You said it. It's not just our future we're fighting for.
We'll do it for everyone. Fal'cie rule ends here.
Daisley, we're coming for you!
Because we didn't beat him enough times yet.
Oh wait, Daisley or Bartandalus?
I'm not turning back.
Yes.
Dragon dodge and parry.
That cutscene also lied to us because there was totally 4 sacrifices on both sides of the pillar, and the pack on the right only has 3.
Oh no.
Very necessary. So this is the most important fight in the game. This group of 4 sacrifices right here, because I spent 4 or 5 hours doing just this fight. Effectively, this is largely considered the best farming fight in the game. So with the 4 sacrifices, they drop Perfume and Scarletite. Perfume is their regular drop, which sells for 12,500 gil, and Scarletite sells for 7,000 as their rare drop. So effectively, you fight these things a lot to get money to be able to upgrade. and they don't give a spectacular amount of experience, but it's definitely enough to do whatever we need to at this point in the game. So I think I show this fight full, even though we fought sacrifices before, to kind of give an idea of how long it takes me at this stage. And then we'll come back here shortly, and I think I do this fight again after spending entirely too long doing all of this.
And of course, without all of the upgrades, some of the other enemies here can be really annoying.
Yes. We're definitely in... Surprise, surprise, Chapter 13 is the final chapter, because everything is 13-based.
Yeah. Wherever they got that from.
But so we're totally in that endgame tower type area where regular bosses become regular mobs and other bosses become super bosses again or something.
And sometimes statues become bosses.
I'm sure, because there was 3 statues and we have 3 of these things, I don't know if these are direct reference to the 3 gods of the crystal myth. I never remember their names. Or they're just subclass Fal'cie for Bartandalus. Black and white remind me of Ikaruga, but then we have a gold one also.
That looks like a gate to Grand Pulse.
A last gift from Bartandalus?
It looks like a bird.
Yeah, it does.
We're gonna run away. Now's our chance.
So, guys, which way we going?
But yeah, as a parting gift from Bartandalus, we are given the option to go back to Eden or go back to Grand Pulse. Effectively, this is your point of no return, but you can totally return if you want to. And so I was talking about just how much I think I did over 1 million Crystarium points off of these mobs, plus the ability. I actually ended up upgrading multiple weapons. I actually even took one of Lightning's weapons to the 3rd tier, the ultimate weapon, which required me to pay 2 million gil for the upgrade material, which is why there's only one. While this is certainly a fast way of grinding money, I did not optimize it perfectly, and it still takes a while because you really need the preemptive strikes to make it an effective fight with the 4 sacrifices. But yeah, enjoy the, I think, unsped up the Crystarium and weapon upgrade video that's playing was 20 minutes. It's a lot of time to just go through the Crystarium. I do like the aesthetic of this area. It seems to invoke a lot more clocks than I think is relevant to this game, but clocks certainly become much more involved in the story in Lightning Returns particularly.
Yeah, I wonder if they were trying to like hint at this being kind of like the inner workings of the Fal'cie or something like that.
Where they pull their power from, maybe, or something. definitely still get some new enemies, rather heavily buffed versions of existing enemies. So apparently these motorcycles we've been fighting the entire game are Fal'cie. Not surprised at this point. But I think I always assumed that there was a person riding inside them.
Well, maybe there can be, or the Fal'cie is just kind of the AI when nobody's in them.
Yeah.
Take down the enemy.
Yeah, so we upgraded the Lion Heart for Lightning, which the way that the ultimate weapons for this game work is a little weird. Effectively, every single person's tier 3 is named the same, but they keep and or upgrade their special attribute that they had from their lower ranks. So we saw that with the Belladonna wand on Vanille, where it had the increased debuff chance, and then it had the tier 2 of that, and the ultimate weapon for her would then also have increased debuff chance. Or she could have the one that's stagger lock, so on and so forth, but those would all be called the same. So Lightning's ultimate weapon is the ultimate weapon, but the one that we upgraded from Lionheart means that it has quick stagger, which is good, but it also has good stats. So the quick stagger just means that she will stagger things 10% earlier. So you're basically getting 10% stagger for free, which for some enemies isn't a whole lot, but it certainly can put some enemies in stagger threshold pretty much immediately. And then we also actually upgraded the weapon for Fang that has stagger lock, because that's one of her highest stat weapons, and she pretty much won't be staggering. So using stagger lock on Fang and the Lionheart for quick stagger on Lightning kind of balance each other out for so much. But Fang will still be able to generate stagger, but she can just never push that threshold.
Let's wrap this up.
That one attack seems a little annoying. It's, knocking you down all the time.
Vanille got knocked down there.
Yeah.
We survived.
And yeah, this guy has over 1 million HP, which is a regular enemy at this point, so that's kind of the damage thresholds that we're getting at this point. They do position these as kind of the special item roadblock quite a few times in this area.
At least the stagger bar does not drain super fast, so when you get interrupted like that, it doesn't reset every time, because that would be hella frustrating.
I don't remember where I showed off, but I do also end up using a lightning special move. Hopefully.
Thank you.
Don't remember if I sped up the section with that or not. I think I used it in one of the boss fights too, so I'm sure we can talk about it then. But Lightning, because Lightning now has 6 ATB, that's the primary benefit of doing the ultimate weapons, is each ultimate weapon will give everybody their 6 ATB point. The 5th one coming from, I guess there's 2 that come from Crystarium. They start with 3. 1 comes from getting their Eidolon, 1 comes from the Crystarium, and 1 comes from the ultimate weapon to give them 6. Math is hard.
You start with 2. You get 1 when you become Lassie.
Oh, right, yeah. But then near the end of one of their main roles, and I think Izala talked about this one of the other weeks, they each get an ultimate ability, basically. In that role, it does a special thing. Lightning's surprisingly is in the Ravager role. I'd always considered her more of a commando by default. That's how she's generally presented. And I'm blanking on the name of the attack now.
Army of One, I think?
Yeah, okay, that sounds right. And basically what that is I think it's I don't know if it scales off the number of ATB you have, but at 6, it's basically you do a lot of hits that generate a lot of stagger. So with the quick stagger on the weapon and using Army of One, a lot of general mobs we could just immediately stagger if we weren't getting the preemptive strikes on them. But then with Army of One, on boss fights, it also helps us build stagger very quickly and push phases, which is super good. And the quick stagger making it so there's a good chance that we'll hit that threshold during that combo.
This is definitely a very different aesthetic here than pretty much anything else up until this point.
Yeah, it kind of looks like we're in the inside of a space station.
Yeah. So the location tag, when we actually got through, all of the cutscenes to get into this area and everything, this area is called Orphan's Cradle, at least in the English version of the game. And this is actually, as the data logs will tell you, an alternate dimension.
Okay.
That's actually created by Eden to host Orphan.
They definitely do some interesting stuff later on with it. I think the biggest drawback of the way that this game presented its story or interesting details was how much was locked out of data log. Show don't tell type stuff. If they had audio logs or something, but then I don't know how they would present that as another character coming through. Like maybe Sid Raines. Like they could have used Sid Raines as a framing device for leaving the audio logs that discussed some of the stuff, because he became a listee, so he possibly would have ventured into these areas, but they also control everything, so how would he present that for somebody else? Hindsight.
Yeah. I mean, Sid tried to fulfill his focus via technicality. It just didn't. In the end, it did not work out for him so well.
This way.
We finally finished our Crystarium. We're now upgrading all of accessories, and then here we get the ultimate weapon. Definitely much faster to go through upgrades when I cut out all of the purchasing and item dumping. Yeah, so we have the Omega weapon. It's not the ultimate weapon, that's the previous rank of it, leveled to 60, which isn't that high of a stat in all actuality, but the ATB and the quick stagger are very much worth it. With the Crystarium, we have all the main roles maxed, which went to level 4, and then we got sub roles pretty high on some of them where I thought it was going to be useful.
More sacrifices. You could grind this one too.
I still have the Collector's Catalog on. So I have Collector's Catalog on Vanille and Fang, which increases the normal item drop rate, because that's the item that we really want to be able to sell. If we get any more ultimate weapons, it's definitely going to be from the monster that drops it that we haven't fought yet.
It looked like you did actually use Army of One in there, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, it does a cool little slowdown thing. You obviously don't have any input. I think your AI partners can definitely still use actions during that time, but
It's kind of other thing that's kind of weird about this place is like it's essentially positioned as you know, the final dungeon in the game as we head towards kind of the final showdown that they alluded to when we got in here. But it's really just a single large room with like I think this area on the map is called the Tesseracts or something like that. And you kind of just end up rearranging it, and there's other stuff flying by in the background, or in some cases kind of close to you. It's a little odd that it's just kind of one huge area, but
I mean, I guess it can apply. So Eden's supposed to be the Fal'cie that gives energy to all the other Fal'cie. Like, effectively,
yeah.
So having a pocket dimension kind of works with that. They could be siphoning power from the pocket dimension. That could be how some of the Fal'cie work, all of the Fal'cie, and Eden's is just the largest.
They do describe Eden as more of the like a power distribution network type thing. So Eden houses Orphan inside the pocket dimension, and Orphan is actually the battery, I think they call it in some places, or whatever.
And so there was a particular comment that Izala wanted to make where each of the shops gives us a little blurb from a different perspective. Any of the shops that are Fal'cie based or have a italicized one at the end where they kind of reference you directly. So some of the older shops don't have it, but then the shops that we got had like use the Fal'cie power to your content Fal'cie or something like that. Yeah.
There you go.
Seize the means to fulfill your focus, Fal'cie power will see it delivered unto you. And one of the other shops we got was Eden Pharmaceuticals, which actually lets us buy those shrouds. Missing shrouds the entire game. And they summon Carbuncle for some reason. With you there, Fang.
Yeah. Most accurate line of dialogue. So this is another area of the game where they the combat is very dense.
Yeah, I don't know how much they expected you to just farm this area in general. There's definitely certain fights in here that are very farmable. Obviously, the sacrifice one, how intentional that one was, I don't know. But there's definitely two fights set up, not too much more time, that are 100%. Hey, we expect you to do these fights repeatedly for Crystarium. Unfortunately, from a Crystarium standpoint, I had skipped some of the Seath Stones, one of which would have given us a Growth Egg, which is the item that doubles the Crystarium gain. So using that in conjunction with farming those would make Crystarium points go by much faster.
They couldn't leave these weird fish things out of the final dungeon, it seems.
Oh, of course not. that certainly seemed like the way that we were supposed to go, and there was a side area I did not explore. Which is basically just more of the same.
Might not be it, huh?
They tell you as much.
Yeah, if anyone's telling you it's not the way. There's definitely an item at the end of that path.
Always. It's the only thing the corridors are worthwhile for. Yeah, I eventually start using the Deceptisol, which is the Shroud, a lot more frequently to just basically give myself free preemptive strikes instead of waiting around as much for certain fights later on. Once I realized I could do that, definitely made things go faster, but also I did not win.
Like, flew over you at first, and I was like, oh, okay.
Free! Wait. Yeah, so luckily there isn't any surprise attacks. Of course, they have an item protector up here.
Just happens to be the million HP mob.
And his aggro zone covers the items.
Oh, of course.
But if we spin, we get a preemptive strike.
Wait, that got you a preemptive
That got me a
strike?
preemptive strike, yup.
It definitely looked like it hit you in the back.
I must have turned around as I ran into its hitbox or something, but yeah.
Or he hit you as he was turning, so it just decides that, like, it doesn't care what direction you're facing when the collision happens, just if the collision happens on the side of their hitbox,
Yeah, maybe.
you automatically get a preemptive strike.
I thought it was specifically supposed to be the back, like how in 14 it has the open cone. It should have been past that angle, but because its hitbox is so big, it may have extended out further or something.
Yeah. And I guess since you can't really get a preemptive strike against you, that the check could be that simple.
Yeah. This fight is where I realized that I can just shroud, and then I don't have to really actually worry about the fights, because in particular the fish things, as we fought before, they die very fastly once they're staggered, and the big trick once you unlock it is basically Ruinga on a staggered mob is just permanent CC. That is the exclusive means by which we do the sacrifice 4-stack, and if they get out of range of the Ruinga, it makes those fights take substantially longer.
I thought you were just staring at the wall.
That fight didn't go particularly well. Yeah, the motorcycles, they're not hard fights, but their very first action, kind of like how they were originally, where they do a heavy Gatling gun. These guys just slam, and regardless of whether or not I have a Sentinel up, because it's an AoE, they hit everybody. So pretty much we're still fighting the issues we've been fighting the entire game with our character's positioning not being controllable and not being able to mitigate AoE attacks because of that. And they definitely start exploiting that more in this dungeon, these enemies, I think.
It's like kind of confusing overall.
There's some alternate paths that basically double back on each other. It's the most elaborate corridor in the game, which feels appropriate, but the fact that you can kind of see everything and you know the markers help with knowing where you're going. There's not a lot of level changes, and the marker's actually really good on level changes. It shows you the way to get to the level change that you need to. But it is all very samey, which can be disorienting.
Yeah, it's all basically just the red and occasionally white, like, tiles. Sometimes there's hexagons.
And yeah, so that was the Army of One also. So yeah, there are still some Sanctum soldiers left. They were allowed to not be converted, but there's a good chance that these guys are also Fal'cie.
Or Fal'cie, because at some point they also mentioned that some of them disguised themselves as humans and were actually part of the Psychon.
Yeah, it always kind of seemed like they used magic. Like, I know they were really fast with the spear, but I think they also cast like Blizzaga and stuff like that. So
yeah, and if it didn't say mana drive in the name when they used magic,
yeah,
then it very well could have been a Fal'cie. Because technically, when the other soldiers do it, they're only able to get the kind of magic effect using the mana drives that they have.
Yeah, it makes sense. Very Garlean. It does some weird camera stuff too, where it will kind of go Dutch angle when you jump down on stuff, which can get also disorienting.
It looked like at one part earlier it caused you to basically hop back to the platform you had just come from too. Hey look, more sacrifices and Templars. Yeah.
Yeah, Deceptive Souls are not cheap, but also I had bought enough basically to do every fight from here on out with them. So we're good for a bit. I think they're like 30,000. I mean, I just saw that purchase screen, which means that if I have a sacrifice with a good drop, it can pay for itself.
So this is also where things begin to cast death. I believe that one of the sacrifices did on that fight. It may have happened in one of the earlier ones as well.
Yeah.
If it targets your main character and is successful, it's exactly as annoying as you might expect it is, in that it's an instant game over.
We did get a cherub necklace. I can't remember what the actual name was, that had a 30% resist death on it. And you can purchase those. And you can upgrade them to have a slightly higher chance also. Death is also affected by the number of debuffs you have for the success rate. And so, all the way back, where were we leaving? Was this? It was when we were getting to the Nautilus. I think it was.
Yeah, so the Gapra Whitewood.
So we didn't. No, we fought these guys with.
With Saz.
Vanille and Saz. Yeah. So it was chapter 5.
6, because it would have been Sun with Water System.
Yeah. Yep. So basically, just made a harder version as a mini boss here. Our choice is basically to focus the one that's susceptible to magic or one that's susceptible to physical. We have good coverage on that with our party right now, so
Follow my lead.
closely. Fine.
Yeah, they are named different now as well.
I couldn't.
Yeah, previously it was Enki and Enlil.
Oh, okay.
Enlil. So they do give them a different name, but I think it's the same models. I don't quite remember.
They are different colored, so these guys are more muted. The previous ones looked more like trees. These look a little bit more fish-like.
Follow my lead.
This'll be quick.
Yeah, I'm not really sure I went the correct way because Bandersnatch is the one we're fighting, and the Jabberwocky is the one that's susceptible to physical attacks. The Jabberwocky is also the one that heals. But my original assumption was, okay, we'll fight the one that has less HP, but I think the Jabberwocky also has less resistance. Whenever we do double commando, Fang decides to do her own thing.
Yeah. But I was trying to figure out where these names were from because, they often don't just create names out of nowhere for some new bosses. I think these are Lewis Carroll references.
Follow my lead.
Okay. I definitely heard them before.
Yeah, because Jabberwock at least is, Jabberwocky is the name of one of the colors. I'm pretty. That's a little bit more modern of a reference than some of the other references that we've seen from this game.
This'll be quick.
Thank you.
once. The characters actually seem to be positioned to your benefit because, you know, Fang was all the way over there, so nobody else was in the radius of the death event.
And they work it out eventually. So we saw a normal speed Army of One there. Basically, each hit gave us 3% stagger, which is pretty good. We don't typically get that outside of having triple Ravager up and then also exploiting the correct element, whereas Army of One kind of just gives it free, but it does cost our entire ATB bar, so it can take a little bit to charge.
Where's this end?
Good question.
If there is one, I can't see it.
I can't do this. All these Seath were people once. Like us.
But that's what Bartandalus is going for. Don't you see? Make us feel guilty. Lose faith. And the second we give up, it's focus time.
Wait till we're broken, slip on the leash.
Yeah, well, when you think about it, having all this empathy, it puts us humans at a big disadvantage.
Maybe. But it's also what makes us dangerous.
Fang? What's wrong?
Oh, nothing. Just that time's running short.
It's okay. My mind's made up this time. We'll just make Cocoon our home.
Yeah. I guess we will.
Yeah, just to reiterate, our goal of our own volition is to kill Bartandalus and the other Fal'cie.
Right.
And Bartandalus's goal is for us to kill the other Fal'cie.
Yes.
So we're gonna do it!
Well, on our terms.
They summoned Carbuncle earlier. I don't know if that's also a Fal'cie. Greppa Whitewood's Fal'cie, maybe?
It almost also looks like the thing that was on the vestige from the beginning of the game.
Exciting, isn't it?
We're also familiar with the enemy that's there.
Yeah. Oh, 2 of them.
Yeah, this fight is not fun. I cut out the attempts that did not go so well. But yeah, so without staggering at least one of them, they would basically both do the slams, and even with maxing out a decent amount of the Crystarium that I have available at this point, would basically just kill me. Obviously, if I had multiple Sentinels or had some Bangles on or something, it would be better. But that's not how we roll.
You didn't grind out the ultimate weapon to play defensively.
Yeah. And I see these encounters and I'm like, well, I guess I gotta do this one, right? What? We could get a preemptive. And that makes it as much of a joke as the first time we encountered this style of enemy. But it does do the exact same thing as the others. It summons its sword and can do a lot of damage that way.
That's why you just keep it airborne.
Can't do that when it's not staggered, though.
Get the feeling I'm missing something.
You definitely consider that a type of mini boss, gate boss. What I was surprised about was, so we get 2 items up here. It's fine. That's a pretty good magic stat item. I have 2 max of those right now, but if I didn't have to use an upgrade thing, upgraded bangle. We don't need extra TP gained.
I mean, you can just buy TP at this point anyway, if you can buy the,
Ether Sol, I think.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Couldn't remember.
Trying to identify if there's a more efficient path for me to go through those mobs down there. Thinking that this is going to just return me back down, but then...
Well, it's not an elevator this time.
We get more items. So it actually takes us to the level below the main platform that we were at.
These are just all more gifts from Bartandalus.
Yeah. The Scarlet Tide is a nothing gift. I think I sold 50-something of them, but the elixir. I wasn't even sure we had gotten an elixir yet. That actually gives us HP and TP in battle. I don't think we have any other way of getting TP in battle from an item.
Probably not.
I don't want to do this fight again. We're gonna try to sneak through here.
It looks like you got past.
This guy's fine.
It seems like this would have the potential to be an annoying fight with that, the other enemy being able to do that, like, blast attack where it knocks everybody down.
The blast is annoying. Luckily, it does do a lot of damage, and focusing the Sanctum soldier means that the damage output of this fight isn't really any more than what we had. I still have to heal occasionally. He does have the shots, but I think actually having the other mob helped, because lightning would go melee with that, so it would separate out our group a little bit.
So you at least didn't get, like, AoE stunned.
Yeah. And we're still getting the basic credit chips all the way. I don't want to fight with those large things again without preemptive. And with the stagger Ruinga, we can interrupt them long enough so that Vanille can put Fog up, which means they can't cast Death.
Super helpful.
Yes, very much so. I have definitely gotten hit by Death a couple of times, but I don't think it killed me maybe once in all of my grinding. It does actually do substantial damage when it fails too, though. A couple
Yeah, I
thousand.
remember that.
Stuff happens. Deal with it.
I like how you looked at the group of the fish enemies and you're just like, Nah. I'll skip that one.
Well, because these guys do, they give themselves the buff immediately. There's absolutely nothing to do it, and it's the equivalent of like the double stack ones. They don't last as long because of that, but I don't want to deal with that. And we got a new enemy here. Can you pronounce that? Claw the claws? Slaws? It's probably Welsh, right?
Maybe? I don't know. Is the WL pattern like Welsh? That looks more Slavic, but the ending does not seem to be.
Yeah, it does a lot of melee damage. That's its gimmick. It's also not really staggerable.
Thanks.
It does a counter stance, so you're not really supposed to attack it during that, but also I can't control the other people, so I guess it's supposed to be like try disaster during those, maybe it's fine. Kind of like this game's version of Conberry.
Let's wrap this up. We can win this.
Sid reigns aside. We fought a thief that was wielding a sword?
I don't think so. They usually just punch us.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vanille's not having a good time here. Yeah, 32,000 experience from that guy. It was a relatively fast fight.
Oh yes, there was one more.
I don't like the looks of that.
Yep. Thanks, Vanille, calling out the foreshadowing. Thanks for watching.
See you next time.